Wake up, wake up. Let's go. It is game. The NFL season has begun. How about that? We got the
How
Hall of
about
Fame
it's
game
happening?
last night. And we got Niner football just around the corner. Niners and Titans dual practices, joint practices coming up next week. We got a lot to get to. Let's get to it.
Like you said, Larry, football season actually started last night. We had a Hall of Fame game. One of the first things that just always jumps out to me when you start watching that first play of real live action football is just how fast everybody moves. You know, you see it down at training camp too. It is a big, bad, nasty sport. It's why we're absolutely obsessed with it. And we welcome everyone back to Wake Up. It's great to have you here. I'm Damon Bruce. He's Larry Krueger. We ask you to like and subscribe both of our YouTube channels, if you would, please. And like Larry said, we are getting closer and closer. Tennessee Titans with Robert Saleh coming back in town. Everybody in the shadow of the electrical substation. And here we go, Larry. Today, we're going to start with the battles. You know, what the Oscars.
We should tell everybody. We should probably tell everybody who we're brought to. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out, Emeryville, Corte Madera. Of course, we're both brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Use code HMA, play $5, get $150 in bonus lineups if your first lineup is a winner. And thank you to Novato Chevrolet, NovatoChevrolet.com on the web.
Love it. I'm so excited about football. I almost forgot to do that. So thank you very, very much, Larry. Thanks to TriSnap.ai as well. We got a 73% winning percentage since June 1st with our Snap Decisions of the Day. Come on along, make some money with us. It is great to have you here. And yeah, Larry, I got ahead of myself. I'm so excited that football is back. I mean, it's that time of year, man. And we do, like you said, have the Tennessee Titans coming to town. The other thing that is looming over the entire sport of football is all of these, this Aaron Donald is really starting to point his arrow towards returning, which would obviously shake up week 1 in Melbourne if he were a part of that.
Yes.
And I thought that if he were a part of that, the right way to start today is by talking about what's going on with the 49ers offensive line, because right now it is home of the biggest training camp battle that we have down in Santa Clara. What the Oscar went to one battle after another, that movie. Well, there's one battle after another in every single training camp. And right now it appears that for the time being, Robert Jones is starting to edge out Connor Colby, who originally ran with the ones. Now they got Robert Jones going with the ones for a look at that. Chris Forrester said that they do like Connor Colby, but he has not been consistent. And Larry, that's where I'd like to start today. I know you're watching the offensive line closely. When he says inconsistency about Connor Colby, what exactly does he mean? Is it footwork? Is it handwork? Is it pad level? What is he talking about when he's worrying about Connor Colby's consistency? Do you know?
Well, I mean, Chris came into the camp stating that Colby and Pooney had awesome off seasons. And then the other day, out of nowhere, he said, Colby has regressed in some areas and wouldn't really divulge what areas they were. Now, he's, a guy who's got great ability to be a pass blocker, and they played in a run-heavy system, so he should be a pretty good run blocker. But, it's hard to say. I mean, I do know that Chris Forster told us a couple weeks before camp that Robert Jones was the best run blocking option. So maybe he feels like Jones offers more power, more pop in the run game. I also thought it was kind of interesting that Matt Barrows had literally just written an article one day before stating that Connor Colby was not just winning the left guard battle, but that it was a one-sided affair. And maybe the Niners read that and were like, hey, you know what? We need more competition here. The injuries that we've seen in this camp have eliminated some of the positional competitions. And obviously, Jones is the veteran. Who knows how he reacted to that? Maybe he came in and said, hey, am I even in the plans here? And you never know. You just never know. It was abrupt, let's just say that. Out of nowhere, Colby went from with the ones to then he's running with the twos and threes. Well, we can only speculate as to exactly why. The good news is we're going to get a preseason game and a joint practice, most likely with Tennessee, to put them out there against other teams, and we'll see who the better player is.
Well,
I think it's probably pretty close.
Jeffrey Simmons is a really good litmus test, don't you think? I mean, this is one of the best defensive tackles in football.
If he plays, yeah.
If I'm imagining he'll play a little bit in the joint practices, and that joint practice is more important than the actual preseason game that the 49ers and Titans will have, especially with Robert Saleh on the other sideline. You just know that he and Shanahan are going to be in complete lockstep. What do you need done? What do I need done? Let's make this joint practice the most efficient joint practice in NFL joint practice history. Like that's definitely something that they've already had a phone call about, I would imagine. It's good to hear that Pooney is looking good. Nick Wagner in his notes said that, Forrester says that he thinks he's clearly making a big step forward for year 3 for Dominic Pooney. But look, right guard was not a position that we were worried about. It was left guard, and it seems like a position they continue to remain worried about. Like you said, it's disappointing that Carver Willis's concussion is keeping him out of a battle that he might have really had a place in. But it just makes me think they probably should have prioritized right guard a little bit more than trying to, scrap heap it the way that they have. And we come right back then to a conversation that you and I have been having about the 49ers offensive line over the course of the last 5 years together. So I really hope this is something that they get figured out. They dropped the big trust us, bro, when it came to guard. And everyone said you need to either draft a tackle and ask him to play guard, or you got to play guard, or you got to draft a guard and just have a surefire guy to play. And they're still trying to figure it out. And, we're just going to assume Brendel has a great year. That seems to be the modus operandi of all time. Brendel, even though we know he is not great, everyone's just going to assume he's going to eventually turn into some great player. And it sounds like the 49ers here on August 7th still have the same sort of offensive line concerns that they had last year.
Well, I mean, when you bring back the same freaking guys, why wouldn't you? What's changed? I mean, Robert Jones was a street free agent. He wasn't one of the more higher paid guards. He's coming off a year where he had neck problems. Brendel's underpowered, got destroyed by Seattle in the playoffs. Pooney only marginally better. I will say this: I think Pooney as a 3rd-round pick is not scrap heap. I mean, at right guard, they've got almost a blue chip type player there. They've got a player they really believe in. Now we'll see who wins the left guard competition, but they get 2 guys that they really like. I'm not a Brendel fan. I'd love to see them go with Nugent or Carver Willis, but so many of the attributes that you want from your center have to do with mental reps, and he's obviously got a huge advantage on 2 very young football players there. So he's going to get the first run. I wouldn't mind seeing a center that had a little bit more pop, a little bit more power, a little bit more ability to uproot the defensive tackle out of the hole. But we're going to find out. I'm not really sure what to make of the Niner offensive line. Is it good enough? Is it not good enough? Their improvement has to come internally because they didn't go get outside new faces. So they're looking for McKivitz and Pooney and Colby and these guys to improve. And we'll see if they can. And also, the weapons are a little bit more explosive now, but Purdy's playing pretty well I think he's like 25 for his last 28, the last 2 practices. So he's playing well, but they're going to go as far as this offensive line can take him.
Well, and they're going to go as far as this offense takes them. And until we see that the defense has turned into something that it wasn't last year, it is going to be this high-paid, very experienced offense to carry the load. And if it's undone by a constant problem in the middle of the offensive line, which, again, something that everybody has been screaming about for the better couple of years now, it would just be a shame to see them trip over something that everyone realizes is a weak spot that they didn't just probably do enough to address. Austin Pleasant's getting some work in at guard too, Larry. Have you seen much of that? Is there anything going on with Austin Pleasant's?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I'll tell you what's going on. What's going on is
everywhere. Is he going to be their swing everything?
Well, no, what's going on is that there's only 3 tackles, and if he's not one of the if you're a starter, you're a starter. But if you're a backup, you got to be able to play multiple spots. You're only going to go with 4 backup offensive linemen. The Niners have 5 new offensive linemen, so somebody's probably going to get cut that was just brought in. But I mean, the backups have to be versatile. I mean, if you're the 3rd tackle, you got to be able to play the left side and the right side. If you're going to be if Austin Pleasance loses the 3rd tackle job to Vidarian Lowe, his ability to play guard and play it effectively is probably his ticket to the 53. So that's what they're doing right now is they're taking a look at their backup linemen in areas that they're not their specialty, so they can find out who actually is a guy that we can play at right guard, left guard. And the more spots you can play, the better. And if he could play 4 of the 5 spots, left tackle, left guard, right guard, Austin Pleasance has a real good chance to make the team. Because you're always going to want to keep that extra tackle if you can, but he's going to have to be, at least serviceable inside, or you're not going to be able to keep him.
One of the beauties of Trent Williams is you don't even talk about him in training camp. He just is. Trent Williams is Trent Williams, and he looks fantastic. Good news from Nick Wagner, too, on Colton McKivitz, Larry. Colton McKivitz, the never very popular with the fans, but a very competent right tackle. Apparently he's continuing to just be rock solid over at right tackle for the Niners, and that is a good sign. Apparently he had some really good reps against Romello Height just yesterday. What was yesterday? The 8th training camp practice? Is that number 8 already? So,
well, yesterday there was, or I should say today, there's no practice. But tomorrow, there was practice yesterday, but there's no practice today. Today's a walkthrough practice, no media, I should say. By the way, we have I Am Become Deaf Destroyer of Words, Damonici, Bruce Machenzo. And then he's given me, I'm next here. Where is it? Laurencio Krugmaselli.
Hey, Casa Dice, como se va? Nice. We've been Italianized. I like it.
We've been Italianized.
I
have Italian in my side. My dad's side of the family is half Italian, half German. My mom's side of the family is Irish. So we got Italian, German, and Irish over here.
That's a fiery mix of DNA inside of you, Larry. But
yes, it
look,
is.
So, training camp pretty much going according to plan for the 49ers, and Brock Purdy and the offense is looking really good. We got good news on Demarcus Robinson, it feels like, each and every day. One of the guys that stood out to me early on thinking, man, he's going to have trouble making this team, and then you see him down there, and you're like, no, he's an important player. He knows how to play every single position. He can help this team out. I hope that he can turn a good training camp into actual production, because he had a good training camp last year, but not a lot of in-season actual production. Well, Larry, let's talk about this wide receiver group in the absence of Ricky Pearsall, who is obviously done for the year. Who has been standing out to you besides Demarcus Robinson, who we've heard a lot about? Take me inside the week that Stribling's having, inside the week that a few other of these guys, I know, like, Cowing, of course, always hurt, not out there right now. One of 20 guys. I mean, we'll get to the substation maybe later, I guess. But, it feels like they're down 3-4 wide receivers almost every single camp, and they're just bringing in dudes to catch balls so they can have training camp practices.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of receivers in this camp. I mean, what I'm seeing is, Mike Evans looks very much like Mike Evans, but he's also got a quad pull of some kind. So they're being real easy on him. Deebo Samuel has looked pretty juicy so far. I mean, he's got some juice. He's got some wiggle. He looks lean and mean, and they're using him in a lot of different ways. Christian Kirk is still working out on the side. He's got a calf strain. He's yet to practice. Deshaun Stribling had tightness in his hamstring. He had looked amazing. Then he took a couple days off to kind of let that hamstring kind of stop barking, but he looks great. I mean, he really does look great. Demarcus Robinson is looking really, really good. What's the interesting part to me in this camp is that Jacob Cowing is getting worked. I mean, I would be shocked if Jacob Cowing makes this team. Now, a lot of people had him down as like the third receiver or the key, the punt returner. Nope, it's not going to happen. Junior Bergen has outplayed him. Jordan Watkins has outplayed him. Will Pauling made a beautiful catch yesterday. Wesley Grimes is making his name known. All of those guys, to me, Watkins, Bergen, Pauling, and Grimes, all look better than Cowing right now. So I would say, you got some veteran receivers up front, and you got some age and some mileage. And you're not seeing a ton right now out of Evans and Kirk, but they do have Evans, Samuel, Kirk, Demarcus Robinson, and Stribling. So that's 5 receivers right there. So you got to think that maybe that second group of Cowing, Watkins, Bergen, Pauling, and Grimes might all be going for like one spot. So the depth is pretty good, but there's no doubt that the surprise of camp at receiver has been Junior Bergen. He's absolutely looking comfortable. He's obviously got a good rapport with Brock. He's not a big run after the catch guy, but he's a very sure-handed receiver. And then Pauling and Grimes are making plays down the field, and so's Watkins. And Cowing's not doing anything, and now is out. So to me, it seems very obvious that Cowing's the guy that's going to get cut.
Very surprised about Junior Bergen. I mean, you and I wrote him off thoroughly. So,
he looks good. I mean, he's done the work.
Again, one battle after another. It feels like the 49ers offensive line needs to settle itself out. The wide receiver group will, the water and oil always find their own levels. Let's talk a little bit about this secondary, because it appears that Jack Jones is starting to stack good days at cornerback. And we know that, Diamador Lenore is definitely locking down one of those spots. We have heard Renardo Green get some praise, and he needed some praise in this camp, I think, to change the narrative about his place on the team and on the depth chart and in the pecking order. But all of a sudden, Jack Jones's name is starting to appear in post-camp write-ups. So tell us a little bit about what you see there, and then we'll get into a trade rumor, which has the 49ers linked to one of the better safeties in all of football and a guy that played for Raheem Morris in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, Jones was brought in because, Raheem wants some guys who can play man-to-man. And he's just been awesome. He makes plays on the ball every day. The interesting part about the corner conversation is that Renardo Green's played great. This is the best we've seen him play. Lenore and Stout look really good. Their starting 3 corners look healthy, knock on wood, and also are playing at a really high level. Then you have Jack Jones, who's looked really good, and you have Darrell Luter, believe it or not, who's looked really good. And it shouldn't be a surprise because he played a lot of man-to-man in college, and he's a guy that feels more comfortable playing man. So, and then you got Saron Neal, who's actually made some plays, and he's the special teams ace. So, what does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. But right now, I would say Jacob Robinson, the second-year corner from BYU, Nate Hobbs, the free agent, who has not been played at free safety. He's been playing corner, but he hasn't necessarily stood out. And then Ephesians Prysock. I think those guys come into the preseason with stuff to prove, because you're only going to keep 6. Green, Lenore, Stout are going to make it, and I would say Jack Jones and Neal are going to make it. So then it's one spot for everybody else, and that includes Hobbs, Prysock, Jacob Robinson, and Darrell Luter. And right now, to me, it looks like Darrell Luter. It looks better than those guys, but we'll see. So it's very competitive situation. And overall, Jack Jones is that veteran who just closes the space, really, really aggressive, really challenges everybody. And he's a great example for these other young corners at the proper play speed and urgency. He looks really good out there.
We had a story in ESPN this week, Larry, where ESPN analyst Seth Walder suggested the 49ers send a 2027 third rounder and a 2028 sixth rounder to Atlanta for Jesse Bates, who is an all-pro safety. And obviously Raheem Morris and he have some history together. As we consider 2 trades to improve this defense, one being Bates, the other being Vita Vea from Tampa Bay, which would you be more interested in hearing John Lynch really pursuing this week? What would be better for the Niners as you've seen them down in training camp? One more defensive tackle or a an all-pro safety to smooth out the secondary? Where's the bigger need?
Yeah, I would say neither. I think they're really, really good at tackle, and I think they like what they have at safety. I think it's more at defensive end. I think they need another pass rusher. It doesn't have to be a huge name guy, but I think they could use another good pass rusher on the outside. On the inside, the Niners have some really good things going on right now, Damon. In fact, I'm glad you asked about defensive tackle because obviously they brought in Osa Odigizua, and Damon, he's amazing. He's dominating. He looks great. He should look great. He's in his prime, and he's a terrific player. Dallas never should have moved him. But then you have C.J. West in year 2, and he looks very strong. Alfred Collins in year 2, he's looking like he's going to improve his game. But this week, the getting healthy of Grayson Halton, he is just dominating the one-on-ones. His spin moves, his power at 295. I didn't see it early in camp. In fact, I kind of said, I feel like Eason and Thompson may be outplaying Halton. Well, then Halton took some time off, got his knee right, had a knee bruise, came back to practice. Since he's been back at practice, he has dominated, and he looks really good. So Grayson Halton and Osa Odigizua, and you got C.J. West, and you have Alfred Collins. Then Sebastian Valdez is still pretty live. And then the 2 undrafted kids, Bryson Eason is 320 pounds and very quick. And James Thompson is their strongest defensive tackle. So it's a really good Jason Licht, the GM of the Bucs, said yesterday, I saw it at the gym when I was lifting, that Vita Vea is not going to be traded. They don't think they're going to trade Vita Vea. So I would love, if it came down to Bates or Vita Vea, I would say Vita Vea because defensive front I think is more important than the secondary. But if it came down to defensive tackle versus defensive end, I think the need's at defensive end. Bosa wasn't there yesterday. I don't know what's going on. Mikael Williams is not going to be ready for week 1, according to Matt Mayoko. Keon White was shot in the ankle. He looks pretty good, but still. Sam Aquinu, Romello Height. Then you got the new guys, Quentin Bell, KJ Henry, Ogbo Arankwo looks pretty good, Titus Leo. But, you got some guys off the street there. You got 4 guys signed off the street. You got a couple guys coming off of an injury. You got an undersized, 3rd-round pick. So I think defensive end, especially if Bosa has any kind of real issue. I have no idea why he missed time. But if he's hurt or has any kind of issue, man, they're hard up for a defensive end. I think defensive end is the need.
And obviously, Kamara, who we both wanted on this team. I'm even wearing an Indiana shirt today.
For his ACL.
He got moved on from.
No, he's still there. He reverted. I don't know if you knew that, but he reverted back to the practice squad.
Okay, that's good. But I'm going to tell you, as much as I want it to happen for him, you're not allowed to be that small and play on an NFL defensive line. He's Lilliputian. He is smaller to his position group than Upton Stout is to his position group.
I don't concern. I'm not really that concerned. He's not small. He's just short.
That's what I mean.
Short is okay. Hugh Douglas was damn good. He was 6'1". Elvis Dumerville was a hell of a defensive end. He was 6 feet.
Sam Mills.
I totally agree with you that he's a smaller guy, but to me, the bigger number is the weight. Like if he was 245, I'd be more concerned. He's 6 feet, 260. I think actually this will wind up being a good thing for Mikael Kamara because he needs to work on his body. He needs to work on his conditioning. He now goes to practice squad. That technically is not true. He goes back to the Niners IR, and they will most likely keep him there. So he's still a 49er, and he'll still be, rehabilitating, and he'll pretty much get a redshirt year, and he'll probably be in camp with them next summer. That would be my guess.
James Thompson Jr., out of Illinois, undrafted, like you said, 6'6", 300 pounds, and he's one guy that we have hardly talked about at all. Most 49er fans, even diehard 49er fans, don't have this guy anywhere on their radar. What's making him stand out to you with your eyes on him down at camp?
Oh, he's the strongest guy. He's the strongest guy. Just think of it. C.J. West is really strong, right? He's a one gap, penetrator, but he also could be a 2-gapper. He's really strong, and really strong at the functional strength. But he had 23 reps of 225. This guy, Thompson, had 36. I mean, he when CJ West topped out on the bench, this guy went and did 13 more reps. And it's not just weight room strength, it's functional strength. He had a rep the other day against Brett Toth that, I mean, it's criminal. I mean, the next day I didn't see Brett Toth. I'm like, did Brett Toth retire? Because I mean, it was like a retirement kind of a rep. I mean, this guy DJ Jones was really really strong, and his strength was his secret weapon. You know, Michael Carter back in the 80s was an enormously strong guy at the point. What makes Chris Jones what he is with Kansas City? Well, he's fast, but he's the strongest defensive tackle. So strength at defensive tackle is an absolute key trait, and this guy is the strongest guy in the room. So I'm really eager, Damon, to see what Thompson looks like in the preseason because he doesn't rush the passer that well. He's not. I mean, Eason's quicker, Thompson's stronger, but when you're this strong, you're good in short yardage. You can be utilized in a rotation. You're good against the run on the inside. You know, Thompson's really intriguing, and he was good at Wisconsin, and then he went to Illinois, and he was good at Illinois. So it's like he's been good in two different programs, but the strength is off the charts, and I can't wait to see the Niners and Titans practice together because I think the strength of Thompson is going to really shine.
Awesome to have everyone here this morning. Hit like and subscribe and notify. Obviously, football is coming. Wake Up will be returning to our normal 2-week Mondays and Fridays rotation. It's just been a busy couple of weeks with Larry being down at training camp and on, he's on the field while we would normally go at this time. But today was an off day, so we can do it. It's good to have you around. I don't know what's coming up on Monday. They're going to be back at it on Monday, right? They do practice Saturday, Sunday, and I do think Monday. When exactly do the Titans get in for the mixed camp?
I don't know, but there's only one day, I believe, of joint practice with the Titans.
Okay, look, we're going to
talk.
But
it will probably be. My guess is it's the Thursday game, so it'll probably be Monday or Tuesday will be the joint practice.
Larry, I'm going to give you our prize picks frame. Let's do our prize picks pick for the day, and then we'll talk about how Brock has been tearing it up and how Shanahan is getting closer and closer to the actual action, which is officially good news for all involved.
Yeah, so we'll share the screen and basically we'll put our prize picks lineup. And we already did the lineup. It's a 3-pick power play. By the way, we should tell everybody, if you're a listener to either channel, Prize Picks is a brand new offer. They're America's #1 sports picks app. It's incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats. You lock in your lineup and you're ready to go. If you'd rather pick teams instead, you can do that now. Pick the winner, the spread, or the total of your favorite games and fights. Brand new offer, though. New users who play their first $5 lineup will get $150 in free bonus lineups if that first lineup is a winner. So just download the Prize Picks app. Use code HMA when you sign up. That's code HMA to receive $150 in free bonus lineups if your first lineup of $5 or more wins. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida. Lock in that first lineup and go get the dub. Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app right now. In our Prize Picks lineup today, we have a 3-pick power play. We're going Puka Nacua. We're going NFL futures, less than 8 receiving touchdowns. Ashton Jeanty, more than 974.5 rush yards. And Dak Prescott, less than 4,024.5 pass yards. That last one wasn't sure because Prescott's thrown for more than that in the past, but he's so jacked. That looks unnatural to me, and something tells me he's going to miss some time. But if our 3-pick power play goes 3 for 3, our $5 turns into $30. Thank you to Prize Picks for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. We really appreciate Prize Picks being our sponsor, and thank you to them. So we will move ourselves back to the spot and move that out of the way and stop sharing.
There you go. Thank you very much to Prize Picks again. Yeah, do indeed check it out. Shanahan inching closer. Who had the good line? Mac Jones. He's getting closer and closer to us now each and every practice. That is good. The 49ers, have they made clear when Shanahan will be actually talking to the media publicly? I know that he had everyone up to his office for a private conversation. Do you think he's going to turn around and be at the podium before the team gets to Australia, Larry?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, definitely before Australia. I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan is fine right now. I think, we'll see. I mean,
I think I don't want to say he's milking it, but I think he is using, the 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 results of the accident to just focus on football and stay away from what I think is the least desired aspect of the job for any NFL head coach, where you got to go deal with the media. This has insulated Kyle from a lot of the things that probably don't make the team better, but he's still obliged to do as an NFL head coach. He can just grind tape and practice right now and doesn't have to deal with anyone. And it could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, which is a really, really weird way to talk about such a serious accident. But maybe Kyle even sees it that way, because we know that dealing with the media is one of the least favorite aspects of his job.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's comfortable. He's doing what he wants to do, and he's doing. I mean, something. I mean, this is just my thought on it, Damon. I mean, I don't have like a source or anything. I just feel like, I've been around this thing for a while now. I just get a feeling that Kyle Shanahan needs to recharge his batteries a little bit, and he needs kind of a little bit of a reset. I think Raheem is part of that as well. But I think he's watching it from the deep middle with Raheem, with Lynch. He's still doing all the things he needs to be doing. As you said, he's just kind of cutting out the things that he doesn't particularly enjoy anyway, dealing with us and the day-to-day fronting of this thing publicly. Eventually, he'll do that again. But I think Kyle Shanahan's pretty much. I think he's getting He obviously, it's a perspective shaker. Anytime you get into that serious of an accident, it's like, hey, and you caused it, by the way. There's got to be a little bit of a reflection time and a reset, and it's like, what the heck am I doing with my life? What mistakes am I making that are causing me these problems? And I think it's probably been good for him to have that kind of, reset and like, hey, where are you at? Do you have issues that you need to deal with? Do you have, demons that you need to conquer? I think this is probably been a very, self-reflective time for him. And yet he's got to get his football team ready to play. And I think he's probably doing both effectively. And I think it's going to be, I don't want to say it's a big nothing burger, but I think it's a big nothing burger. I think he's going to coach. I think he's going to coach well. I think his team's going to play. I think they're going to play well. So that's it. But we'll see. I mean, you never know. This also could go the other way, and he's totally not ready to coach, and noise and sound and all these things continue to bother him, and he's got migraines. And
it would be shocking.
Who knows? But my guess is when the bell sounds and it's time to go, he's going to be ready to go.
We've been at it now for about 33 minutes here. A lot of worry and oh-nos, and I hope this works out. There's one guy who's got it all pointed in the right direction right now, and he is the Layer King. Congratulations to Raheem Morris for giving Brock his latest nickname, the Layer King. And I do like that an awful lot. Like you said, his numbers from the last few camps, not that I really care about training camp numbers, but he is connecting with a group of receivers he needed to find some training camp chemistry with. And that's all good news. Apparently, the leadership is right where it needs to be, and Brock Purdy is looking as good in any training camp as he's ever looked.
Yeah, I mean, he does. He looks really good. I mean, I think he's like 25 for his last 28. I mean, you don't want to be. To me, it's like I'm a personnel guy at my core, so I really look at what's the makeup and the composition of the roster. And yeah, the Niners have like some older guys here. They got 10 older players, and they're among their best players. But those players look pretty good. But then you also have a lot of young players, and some of them are going to be too young to contribute. We'll find out. Maybe Jaden Duggar, maybe some of these rookies are not ready to go because young players sometimes need time to develop. Brock is what I would call in the super prime, right? He's had a couple years to learn the position, especially quarterback. It takes a couple extra years to really learn the position. And now he's got all the knowledge, all the reps, all the experience, and he's got a real good idea of how to play, and he keeps getting better. But now he's physically and mentally in that super prime. He's old enough to understand and have experience, but he's still young enough where his body's not failing him. He practices every day. He doesn't have a lot of injuries and maladies and that kind of thing. So I just think that, Brock is really, if you look at the Niners, Kittle's old, CMC's old, Juice is old, Evans is old, Demarcus Robinson's a veteran, Trent's old. You could make an argument that the Niners offense, I mean, not just an argument, I mean, he's the quarterback, but he's going to drive the Niners offense, and it's going to go as far as he can kind of carry them and direct them. He's in his super prime, but he's trying to direct an offense that has a lot of key cogs that are past their prime or in the twilight of their prime, let's just say. And I think it's going to be a huge year for Brock Purdy. I think he's going to step it up. I think he's going to make plays. You're going to see him more of a better fantasy player, and with better stats. And I think he's going to make a run at it this year.
I mean, look, all Brock Purdy needs to do, and the only thing he needs to do, is just cut down on the turnovers. He cuts down on turnovers. There could be, stay healthy, cut down on your turnovers, and you can rip it up this year. There is no doubt about that. I saw an interesting article for Bill Barnwell this week on ESPN.com, Larry, where he talked about how many active Hall of Famers are in this league right now. He goes through each and every roster, and he spends quite a little time on the 49ers roster because they probably have more guys to argue are future Hall of Famers on their roster than maybe any other team in football right now. He's got Mike Evans, Christian McCaffrey, and Trent Williams all just 100% in. Evans, Williams are easy first ballot selections. McCaffrey has been a dominant player in his era, and the Hall of Fame loves its running backs. So there's a very good chance that all three of those guys are just don't even need to think about it, Hall of Famers. On the cusp, he's got Fred Warner and George Kittle, saying that Kittle, if he could have one more big year, he's absolutely in. He's probably in right now, and I would say he's 100% in right now. If he never played another game, his prowess in blocking and his likability factor in the media, I think, have George Kittle in the Hall of Fame right now. Fred Warner, again, he gets to bask in that precedent set by a former 49er, Patrick Willis. Luke Kuechly is a guy who got inducted into the Hall of Fame or will be this weekend. He was honored a little bit during the broadcast last night. Luke Kuechly was one of those didn't win it all, but man, when he was in the game, he was just the best. And I think Fred Warner is enjoying that too. I would say that both of them could be almost from on the cusp to in. Certainly another big year or two from either. There's not a lot to worry about. He says work to do is Nick Bosa, who's obviously got to get back on a Hall of Fame track, which his career started on. And he says it's Brock Purdy, too. And Brock Purdy has started his career on a Hall of Fame track. But we all know that any quarterback for real Hall of Fame consideration these days has to deliver a championship. And we'll see if he can eventually do that. And he said that the one guy who has crossed that magical, like you make 10 Pro Bowls, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Even though Kyle Juszczyk has made 10 Pro Bowls, he's probably not going to go to the Hall of Fame. And I think I agree with that, too. I think Barnwell absolutely nailed this column in the evaluation of who's in, who's out, and who could get in.
Well, it's interesting. I think Fred and Kittle are on Hall of Fame trajectories. I think they just play out their careers, have, reasonable production going forward. And I think they're on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Bosa is the most interesting one because I agree. I don't think he's Hall of Fame. He was if he could put together 2 or 3 more of his best seasons where he had 18 and a half sacks. But what are the odds that he'll be able to do that? Probably not very good. So I agree. And Juszczyk is a very effective football player, but come on, he's not a Hall of Fame fullback. And if he is a Hall of Fame fullback, there's like 9 different Hall of Fame fullbacks that have to go in front of him, including Lorenzo Neal. So I mean, it's just there's no way Juice is a Hall of Famer. I do agree with the other guys, though. I mean, it shows the urgency the Niners should have. Look at all the great players they have. I mean, the rest of the league probably doesn't have as many Hall of Famers as the Niners have. It's like it's a really thin list of who's going to the Hall of Fame. And for the 49ers, they have a very accomplished roster. So yes, it's absolutely their go time. It's a huge year for them.
So look, we've gone about as deep into the show, and I've got somebody. Kyle is saying, "Damon, your mic is softer than Larry's." Does anyone else hear that? I've heard that a few times this week. I've just bumped myself up a little bit, but I want to show you the softer side of Damon Bruce here in the preseason, so that's okay. Look,
Intentionally
Larry,
softer.
intentionally. Pat McAfee brought up a point that I think is just undeniable this week, where he says that damn substation, it just looms over everything the 49ers do. It's in every single training camp practice video. It's in every single picture. It's right there. And the way that their practice field is set up, there is room for the media to shoot practice, but only with the substation behind it, really not allowed on the other side of the field. So you could have a non-substation thing. He says it's like they're practicing in an electrical prison. Now, look, the science, what is actually happening, it's clear we do not know, but 20 guys this week were unavailable on a 90-man roster to go out and practice. And, Chris Forrester is right when he says it's just a whole bunch of nicks and dings and bruises, but this is something that just will not go away. And it's inarguable that substation subtracts more from 49ers training camp than it adds anything. I've been thinking about this week. How do you fix an unfixable problem? Let's say there was an actual problem. How do you fix an unfixable problem? The 49ers are not moving Levi's Stadium. They're not going to build another stadium somewhere else. And the substation's not going anywhere. Larry, I think I got it. It would take some swallowing of egos in 49er brass and ownership to do something like this. There is an NFL quality headquarters just sitting over in Alameda. The 49ers should move their team headquarters. They're not moving Levi Stadium, but they should move their team headquarters and their practice facility to the old Raiders facility over in Alameda, and we'll never talk about the substation ever again.
That would uproot them too much. Now I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
So the answer then would be, okay, so you need a new team headquarters and a new stadium somewhere else. Like, what if there actually were a return that, something dastardly was actually happening to the roster because of this thing? Then
they're studying options. Since you made an adjustment, now I'm hearing myself on the
I just turned myself up. I didn't touch any adjustment buttons. I just turned my.
I don't know. Now I'm hearing myself back.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well.
I'm not hearing a reverb. Annoying. If you can live through it through your own ear, we can live.
It's bad. It's like 2-second delay. Anyway, more echo. Yeah. Maybe turn it down a little bit. I don't know what button you pushed, but I
didn't push any button. I just pushed my fader up on my mic volume.
I'm not sure. Okay. Well, yeah. It's bad, man. It's awful. Anyway, we're at the end here anyway. But yes, I mean they're looking for a new home. They're as far as for their practice facility, they could probably find one within a few miles of where they're at. I think they probably should do that at some point. Yeah.
Look, I know you got a little buzz in your ear right now, but there was one other story that I thought deserved to make 49ers wake up here, even though it's not a 49ers story. Mike Krukow announced that he is wrapping it up at the end of this year. And Larry, when I think about, changing radio, and I don't want to get you in Dutch with KNBR, so I'm not going to say anything about the decisions made over there this week. But the sound of summer in San Francisco will be forever altered when Mike Krukow is no longer a part of it. He is like the fog. He hangs out with us each and every summer. He is part of the fabric of this entire city, much less just a Giants broadcast. And I honestly, I can't think of a broadcasting duo that is going to be harder to replace than Kruk and Kipe. And, Dwayne Kuiper is going to stick around, but boy, this town is going to miss Mike Krukow. That guy brought so much joy to everything he ever did. It's hard to be universally beloved as a broadcaster. Mike Krukow, universally beloved.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, he's been a great Giant. He's been a great Giant announcer, and you knew this day was coming at some point. He's 74. When I'm 74, I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I'm surprised he's giving it up so soon. Well, I mean, the average lifespan's like 77 years old. So what, he would have 3 years post-career to spend with his wife, family, grandkids. I'm always surprised people who have money in the bank work as long as they do. If I was him, I would definitely get out and enjoy my family.
I think for Mike, doing baseball games was never a day of work for him. He'd do this for free if he could, but unfortunately his body is preventing him. It's not a desire to spend more time with the kids that is leading him to retirement. It is the medical condition which has put him in a wheelchair and is just making it very, very difficult for him to get around, that is taking him away from the game. So, as always, it's an athlete's body failing them, betraying them, that usually takes them away from their sport. And sadly, that's what's going on with Krukow too. But you will never meet a nicer guy. You will never meet a more genuine, happy to be here. Isn't it another great day at the yard? The only complaint anyone could ever have about Mike Krukow is that he's way too much of a house organ. You would never make that complaint if you actually met the guy, and you'd be like, oh, this like joyful, happy about everything. It's not a facade. He's not doing that for the broadcast. It's really who he is. He is aw shucks happy to be here at all times.
Yep,
and he's a wonderful guy.
Yep.
Wonderful guy. Wonderful, wonderful guy.
Let's hit our supers before we jet. God, this I don't know what you did, but I'm now in a gigantic echo. Mild. Well, you did something, because I've been sitting there. I've not touched one button, and now all of a sudden I'm in a gigantic echo. So it was definitely on your end. Mill ticket, 2 jewels was 100. We get this one, too much sauce. Debo over or under 1,000 receiving yards this season. I would say under. Ernberg, would you guys recommend renting or buying a house? Buying. Definitely.
Buy. Equity is a good thing. Buy.
And don't pay a lot of HOA dues, otherwise it's basically like renting as well. Lilo and Stitch, or Snitch, is Upton Stout in good shape? Yes, he's in awesome shape.
Great shape.
He's in great shape.
It is funny seeing him in a podium, and he's like an old lady behind a steering wheel. He basically just pops up over that. He is so small that you can hardly see him behind that podium.
E-Man's 10 jewels equals thumbs up. Thank you, E-Man. We got this one, 440 jewels equals Unk Alert. Thank you, E-Man's. 550 jewels. Stay hydrated. Thank you, Riker Trav. TV YouTube 143. What will Kyle's coaching minutes restriction look like when he returns? 1 quarter, then a half, then eventually a full game? No, there'll be no restrictions. He'll be back. Teal 1942 or T 1942, 10 jewels equals gold coin. All right. Thank you guys for all your donations. Thank you to everybody. Also, thanks to our sponsors. Thank you. We didn't mention it before, but West Coast Diesel's 10th annual event is coming up. It is September 12th, and it's family-friendly environment. The phone number, if you want more information, 707-595-3026, westcoastdiesels.com. What is it? It is the biggest diesel truck celebration up in Sonoma County, featuring tractor pulls, show and shines, dirt drags, dyno, loudest exhaust competition, and so much more. Family-friendly atmosphere. Kids 5 and under are free. Tickets are available now. You can purchase at the gate on the date of the event. It's September 12th, 2026, up in Santa Rosa at the Chris Beck Arena at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. So thank you to them. And also thank you to Novato Chevrolet. I'll be out there later today. And then we have one more here. We got gold coin. 10 jewels equals gold coin. 10 jewels equals gold coin. Thank you to all you guys. Join me on the radio right now. I'm sitting in from 10 to 2, doing a little 4-hour radio show. We got a hell of a show. We got Pablo Sandoval's going to be on today. Bruce Bochy is going to be by today. Matt Mayoko, Andy Baggerly, Ronnie Lott. It's going to be a hell of a show. So stick around on the radio side for that. Damon, have a great weekend.
I got Sam Patesh coming up at 11. He's going to be joining me right here on YouTube, so I hope everyone joins me there. Hit like, subscribe. Larry, break a leg. Good to see you, and we'll get together again next week for more Wake Up. We don't know if it'll be on Monday exactly or on Friday. It depends on what training camp schedule looks like. But there you
See you
go.
then.
Thank you.
Peace.